Hello, it's Courtney with balancewithcourtney.com. I am passionate about helping others discover their happy and inspire them to make it a daily habit. My intention is to hack happy by interviewing experts, share their stories to inspire others and create a happy movement. Today's happy expert is Olivera Milojkovic. Did I get it close, sweetheart?
You got it.
Wonderful. Olivera was born in the former Yugoslavia. At the age of 4, she immigrated with her parents to the United States, settling in New Jersey. She has been a daughter, wife, mother, housewife, teacher, business partner, executive assistant, and life coach. Throughout her life, she has always felt a kind of confusion, never really feeling fully sure of herself, her decisions, or her life choices. She felt the answers were all there, but just beyond her grasp. And then one day, life changed forever. The unexpected early onset of menopause at age 38 triggered and paralleled the most powerful spiritual awakening. It crumbled all of her foundations, left her with no footing, and resulted in a loss of her conditioned mind. But it also revealed to Olivera what she had been searching for her entire life, her true self, the self that is infused with wisdom, insight, and inner power. After 4 decades of feeling lost, she felt a rebirth, a homecoming. It took her the next 5 years to get to know her true self and find out how to live a whole new perspective while at the same time navigating through the life she had currently been living in as a wife, mother, and homemaker. In short, every single thing in her life changed. Today, Olivera lives in Hawaii and is published author, women's life coach, spiritual teacher, and speaker, inspiring others to find their true selves and live life fully. Wow. You are a powerhouse. I love this. So beautiful. I felt inspiring just reading it all. Oh, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I am going to fully enjoy this interview. I know it.
So am I. So I'd like to start with asking you, please share your story, how you found your happy.
Happy and everything else pivots around one main point in my life. I'm 52 right now. So at age 38 was that pivotal moment where I got my happy and everything else. I was in an interview a few days ago. I had a speech and a woman interviewed me and she asked me and the audience, does anyone know about something called a walk-in? And it's something that I don't talk about a lot. I do know about it. And it's what I felt happened to me in that spiritual awakening at age 38. And basically it's, if you become a seeker, if you have a yearning inside of you, if you want to connect to that deeper part of yourself, or you feel like there's something missing in your life, like if you have the this, the that, and all the things, but you just feel something is still not quite there, like a puzzle, that last puzzle piece that's missing. That's as best as I can describe it. I was this seeker. I had all the things and I couldn't grasp life. I just couldn't get it. I wasn't happy really, inside. Something wasn't working. So I had this experience, this spiritual experience, which in that bubble moment, the best way to describe it is that I felt like someone threw me out of an airplane and I was in free fall. That was the visceral feeling. And I did feel kind of afraid, but I wasn't afraid. Fear was somewhere in the background, like a distant memory. And in the forefront was this feeling of freedom. And this is where the happy comes in. My mind had I and my brain, my mind, my whole being, we were in this, it's not a physical place, but we were in this, I was in this experience of no mind. All of my beliefs, all of what I've been taught, all of the shoulds, have tos, all of that was gone and I was free. And that's where my happy came in. That was my first little glimpse of what we're going to call happy. And what I later understood in a higher consciousness, or as wisdom started pouring through, was that this kind of happy, this inner feeling, was a state of being called joy. So anyway, just to finish my thought, that walk-in, that's when a lot of your, a lot of your soul is fragmented, and it comes into this body, and your higher self is in the ethers. When you have a spiritual awakening, or when you realize more of yourself, more of your higher self gets, those little fragmented pieces come in more. So you become more of that bigger soul. And that's what happened to me. It's another way of kind of describing where the happy comes from. It's having a broader perspective. So amazing. I hope that's understandable.
I completely understand it. Oh, so beautiful. Well, you almost answered the next question. It's beautiful. So define what happy means to you. What does that word mean to you?
Sure. When you first asked me, or when I first came across you and I saw happy, the first thing that I felt was groundedness in my being. And that's, again, something I got in that moment of that spiritual awakening. I was the eye of the storm. I was that anchor, that place inside of me that really never changes. It was that eternal. I connected to the timeless, eternal beingness of this personality called Olivera. And that is the anchor for happy. That's where it comes from. That's its source. And that's the source of everything for me. Oh my gosh, I could describe that in so many ways, this anchoring in being. Happy from that place means that no matter what's happening in my life, no matter on the surface what looks like bad or good or up or down, no matter what duality is throwing at me, or whatever situation I'm in, or whatever I'm creating, the roller coaster of 3D, that anchoring in beingness allows me to experience that joy, that it's a knowing that everything is going to be all right. And I'll give an extreme example. I could be in my car and the next minute wrapped around a tree in an accident. I can have cancer or any other illness. I am still in that beingness, in that joy. It never goes away. It doesn't matter what happens. And it's never left me since that moment.
Wow. That is inspiring.
Yeah, it is. Wow. It's like that other me before 38. She didn't know what joy was. She couldn't, she couldn't get there. She could maybe get to the surface happy, like, when I buy a little trinket and it satisfies me for a little time. Yeah. And then again, there's that void or that something missing, so the old me experienced happy only in moments. Right. And then it went away, and then in moments again, and then it went away. I think the biggest joy in my before 38 self was when my daughter was born, because I experienced something that felt like my heart opened like a flower. I had my whole chest just exploded, and I felt what now I can say is joy. That's the closest that old me got to joy, is when I actually gave birth to that child. It was just miraculous, so miraculous that it pushed me, out of just the surface of life, and it brought me into something a little bit more. But I have to say, even that didn't get me to where I am now and where I was at 38. Even the birth of a child still couldn't keep me in joy, in because I wasn't grounded in my being. I didn't know. I wasn't connected to myself yet.
So that prompts a question. Do you think that you have been here before? I mean, when we first come out of the womb, do you think we are in that joy and we lose that?
How
Or do you
I
think it has a
understand.
time frame when it embodies us?
Good question. Again, I'm going to give you my understanding from everything that I know today. As I understand it, we are eternal. That means, to me, obviously, I've been here before, right? This is just a little parenthesis of this Olivera in this little snippet we call this life.
Right.
Life is eternal, right? Life is eternal. I don't have a life. I am life, right?
Right.
So with that being said, then I know that I existed what we call before, right? And when I am in spirit, I don't have any earthly characteristics, of all those doubts and shame and blame. And, I am in joy. The spirit, I believe, is in joy and in oneness and wholeness and love and truth and, those deeper states of being, peace and freedoms as states of being. So yes, I believe that before I was born into this body, I was in a state of joy. And I like to joke and say I lost it maybe after the first day. Because we not lose it, but it gets covered up very shortly after, we're born. We don't have to go into, many people say after your 7th year, that's it.
Yeah.
Whatever, you've been covered up and you just go on living. But yeah, you lose it quickly because we're covered with conditioning, with society, with culture, with religion, with my own self-doubt and my own limiting beliefs, and on and on and on and on. And so I say that at 38, after being so suffering and under pressure and not really knowing what's missing, I was so squeezed and depressed and lost. That was the feeling, that I felt like I had 100 winter coats on in the middle of summer. I usually describe it like that because that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And then uncovering all that, getting rid of all that, uncovered my joy, which was always there underneath. It was just very, very, very hidden deep down. I buried it somewhere and lost it,
Wow.
It came to the forefront.
So how do you maintain that joy, and how do you make it a daily habit?
That is such a good question. Oh gosh, I love these. It never leaves. My joy doesn't live in the third dimension. It's not born of here. And that's why it can't leave, because it's who I am. It's like that thing when we say we are life, we don't have a life. So I am joy. I am my higher self. I am peace. I am freedom. It's something that lives in that eye of the storm where I live from. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm talking to you or washing the dishes or having a difficult situation, all my energy is flowing from there. Another thing the spiritual awakening gave me was I used to wobble, right? Meaning if somebody's energy was next to mine, it would pull me. I would get caught up in the drama, those terms. So that's something that gradually started to go away, and my center became very, very strong. And once you find that center, once you can feel it, have the experience of it, it's easier to pull yourself back into it. Yoga can do it for you, any kind of meditation, walking meditation, which I have been doing for 15 years now. It's a practice, and that I will say it's a good term, because you just keep bringing yourself back to that center, that eye of the storm, and you can't lose the joy. No matter what you do, you can't.
Right. So for those out there that feel they have not felt what you're talking about, would you say it's you go back into your body, you become present in your body,
That's the
and
easiest
that's where it
way.
is?
Yes, the easiest, and I didn't understand what that was either. Like, you go into your body. I literally didn't know what those words meant. And what helped me and might help your viewers is I just stop whatever I'm doing. If I feel off, frustrated, or in that wobble or pulled, literally stop what I'm doing, even if it's in the middle of an argument, and I will consciously feel my fingers, my toes, my legs, I will start putting my awareness on my hands, on my body, and that will start bringing me back
Right.
to myself, instead of having my energy out there, being pulled out there. That's the simplest form that I found that anyone can kind of understand. And it's just practicing that, and it gets stronger.
Right. It's like before we started this call and I said, I need to ground myself and take a deep breath. That's exactly what I was doing, because I felt my energy was everywhere else but right in front of me with you.
Yes. And thank goodness we have the breath. That's another thing I didn't understand. I'm like, what do you mean just breathe?
Yes.
Because the lower self, the ordinary human consciousness cannot really grasp the simplicity and profoundness of the breath. You have to slow it way, 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 way down, meaning like take the breath, literally take the breath. Okay. And then when I ask someone to do that, they're like, okay, I did it. No, like take another breath. Really, you have to slow. It's a slowing down at first.
Yes.
You know, later it becomes second nature, but slowing it down and literally taking that breath. You know what that's connected to? And this might sound strange, but people say, oh, wait a minute, did I lock the door? It's the same thing. If you're fully present and you slow it way down, like I have the key in my hand, I can feel it. I'm looking at the keyhole. I'm turning and locking it like in slow motion. It's just being present, and it's like takes you right into that moment. You will never, ever again question whether you lock that door when you're in your car. Same thing with grounding. It's the same thing. You're consciously slowing down and like being just with breathing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you just keep grounding before you do anything, just be present in your body, before you know it will be a habit, and that's just where you are all the time.
And we say it to children all the time when they're all flustered and all over the place, and we want them to like pay attention to us. We say, okay, count to 3, count to 10. Okay, take a breath, right? We say, and then we don't do it. We don't do it. But that's what it is. You know, today we get all like technical and whatever and fancy and spiritual. And we say, oh, it's yoga, and, you know, it's the breath work. And that's all it is. It's like being a child and counting to calm down and come into yourself again. That's all it is, literally.
That's so true. We learned it all in kindergarten, didn't we?
We did. We did.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I mean, just that answered all my questions. It was absolutely gorgeous. Thank you for that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So please give our fans one last piece of advice. That most of my fans out there are trying to discover they're happy. They're trying to look elsewhere. Help them, give them some advice on where to go, what to do.
Some of my own tips, you mean? Something that helped me?
That would be wonderful. Yes.
I would love to. Well, I used to be the expert of not being happy. So I can give some really great tips.
Wonderful.
One tip is when I stopped judging myself, and again, when I stopped judging others, that made me very happy. I stopped, I give an example. I stopped expecting and judging my husband to be a certain way. And instead of that, I really looked at this person I kind of took the label off husband. That helped me a lot, and that'll help your viewers and your listeners. Take the label off. Just look at the person as a human being, and you will see the human being with all of whatever they are, with all of their behavior, with all of their emotions, and then you accept all of that first. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. The point is to accept it, and that's what makes you, quote unquote, happy, because you're not resisting that. That was a big one for me, because we just do it automatically. We judge and label. That's just something we were taught from day one. Another thing is expectations and attachments. And I'll talk about attachment because that was a profound one for me. I used to think that I loved my daughter. Like, who can love their daughter more than a mother, right? And as it turns out, I didn't love my daughter. I actually was just attached to her, which means I was coming from fear. I had expectations and I had certain conditions, and those all came from a frightened part of myself. I learned that when I'm not attached, I let go. And then I had a problem like, well, if I let go, I'm not attached, how can I still love her? And that's when the realization or the wisdom came in, where unconditional love has no conditions, and attachment is a condition, and expectation is a condition. And I think I cried for 2 days when I realized that I never really loved anyone, because I had expectations and attachments and all this stuff, all these conditions. I never unconditionally loved myself or anyone else. And that didn't make me happy. And having that realization was profound, because it freed me, and that freedom gave me such joy that freed me. I could love anyone because I accepted them just as they are, and I accepted myself as I am, with all the good, the bad, the ugly, the weird, the whatever. So anyone who's around me can usually feel that, because I have let go of all of expectations of anyone. You can be just as you are when you're with me. I mean, that makes me happy. Yeah. That's so freeing. Freedom gives you joy and happiness. You know, if someone just kind of sits with that for a little while, you can feel that. Yeah.
Well, it's happening to me. That happens to everyone that interviews you. We don't know what to say because we're just in bliss. I mean, yes. And such a hard lesson. The attachment,
but so beautiful. The result, oh gosh, I would love everyone to experience letting go. It's the hardest thing to do, and the most profound gift is what you get from it.
So you said letting go. Can you give me just the first step? How did you start to create the feeling of letting go and not having attachment?
Letting go was the simplest way, again, to go into that is accept the person as they are first. Always. That's like when in a dance you have step one. This is step one. Always. And there's no exception here. If somebody shot somebody, or if somebody is kissing somebody, step one is always the same. You accept. First you accept the person, the situation, doesn't matter what's in front of you. Acceptance is the key. Yeah. That's the doorway to letting go. That's why I have a smile on my face today. I didn't before, but I know where it leads to. It leads to freedom, and freedom leads to joy.
Just accept. Accept
first. Yes, first accept, because you can't fight with what is, right?
Right.
Right. You have a choice. I can choose how to relate to someone, but not accepting how someone is just insane, because they are the way they are, or the situation is as it is.
Yes.
So it's all tied together. We're talking about all these words, acceptance and letting go and expectations, but it's all connected. That's why I do the conversations in higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have this conversation, it all starts emerging, and like shaking a snow globe, all the pieces start falling where they're supposed to, you know, everything starts to make sense, and you know, the dots are connected, and it's magical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you get that beautiful feeling of bliss, and you don't want anything else.
Exactly. Once you've been there, you just, you want to live there all day long.
Ah, thank you so much. This was absolutely beautiful. Can you tell our fans how they can reach out to you or get the inspiration from you?
Sure. The best way is to go to my new website. It's www.theawakenedmidlife.com. And at the bottom of every page, there's a call for a free discovery session. It's a 90-minute call. It's a conversation in higher consciousness, and it's no different than if you were a paying client. This call is no different than that. We will have a conversation, you know, as if you paid me for 12 lessons and those are the lessons that I teach, lessons of higher consciousness in 12 conversations. And people usually ask, oh, can it just be as easy as a conversation? Yes, because these are conversations in a higher realm. They're my higher self talking to your higher self.
Yes.
And in that call, you get to experience what that's like. The second way someone can come in contact with me is I've created a Facebook group called HI Midlife Cafe, where I sprinkle in all the teachings of higher consciousness. If I have an inspired insight, I'll post it as a video. Anyone can come there and ask Coach Om, which I call myself. They can ask a question, feel comfortable, be supported, all the things. They can also purchase my book, Awakening Through Menopause, which I wrote in 2015 because I couldn't not write and share with the world the experience, my personal experience of awakening in the middle of menopause at age 38. It was interesting. So you
have had a quite 3 years.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Oh my gosh. So beautiful. Thank you so much for taking this time and inspiring me and inspiring everyone watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Courtney, for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're so welcome. Thank you for taking thank you for taking time for us and for your growth. I hope you discovered new habits to support your happiness. Please reach out with questions if you need more support in our Happy Balance Facebook group or at balancewithcourtney.com. Thank you, sweetheart.